Hi everyone, I'm Christina. Welcome to AISQbusiness. Today we are going to talk about the homepage. A homepage is the main or primary page of a website, typically the entry point for visitors. What are some must-have elements for a great homepage? Clear branding and logo. Your brand should be immediately recognizable to visitors. The logo acts as the visual representation of your business and establishes your website identity. Compelling hero section, the above the fold section. This is the first area your visitors will see. A clear, concise, and compelling message in this section helps users understand your website's value instantly. Navigation menu. Easy navigation ensures that users can quickly find what they are looking for, improving their overall experience. Trust signals and social proof. Trust signals helps visitors feel confident in your business. Social proof builds credibility and shows that others trust or use your services. Value proposition and a clear call to action. The value proposition communicates the key benefits your visitors will get from using your product, service, or website. The call to action guides users toward an action you want them to take. And of course, a footer with essential information. The footer provides additional navigation and essential information, often including contact details or legal links. And what are some best practices for a homepage design? Mobile first design. Make sure your website looks good on mobile. White space and visual hierarchy. Use white space effectively to give elements room to breathe. Fast loading times. The homepage should load quickly. Compress images, avoid heavy scripts, and optimize for speed to keep the bounce rate low. Consistent branding. Ensures your homepage maintains consistency in terms of fonts, colors, and design elements, so it aligns with your brand's overall identity. And of course, SEO optimization. Incorporates SEO best practices like meta description, meta titles, headings, alt text, and so on, to make sure the homepage is optimized for search engines. And now let's get inside our website that we have received with AISQbusiness to see how we can customize the homepage that we have just received. And now we have to log in with our admin username. We are going to write our website URL /AISQ, and then we are going to log in with our admin username and our admin password. Because I'm already logged in, I no longer have to do that. And then you're going to see your homepage. You can simply customize the text, the images, and the buttons so it makes sense for your website. You don't have to get stuck in every single detail right now, because AISQbusiness website already has a great structure in place for your homepage. So basically, you should focus on getting minimum viable content on your homepage. What does that mean? It means that you should have a clear value proposition that you can customize over here, a strong call to action that you can customize over here, concise benefits or features that you can customize over here, and some social proof that you can customize over here. Of course, you don't have to add every single detail right now. You should focus on what's necessary for visitors to understand your business and take action. You can always tweak and refine it later. So it's important that you don't overthink it and you don't get stuck in every single detail. And it's more important for you to start creating content so you get traffic on your website and people will know about your business and about your website, because getting traffic and improving your SEO and social media presence will take time. That's why we recommend you start creating content and getting traffic. You will have more than enough time to make improvements to the design of your homepage. In order to edit our homepage, we simply have to go over here to edit with Elementor and click on it. And now we are inside Elementor. We can see the structure over here where we can see the sections. In case you're not seeing the structure, is this button over here, like so. I'm going to drag it to the edge of the screen to pin it in place. Then let's Let's take a look at our homepage. We have received a header over here with the logo, the navigation menu, and the call to action. Then we have the above default section over here with a great image, a great heading, description that should tell about our brand, and a call to action. By moving on, we have another section with some informations. And over here, we have trust signals and social proof. And of course, we have a footer with social links, a privacy policy link, terms of use link, copyright, and so on. So whenever you want to edit something on your homepage, you simply have to click on it. For example, if you want to edit this image over here, we would click on this icon over here to edit the container, because the image is a background for this particular container. Over here, we have different options to customize the container. For example, we have the width over here. The minimum height, this is not going to change because the main container, this one, if I'm clicking over here, has the minimum height set to view height to 88%. If I'm changing this to 10, for example, and then I'm going back to this container with the image and change the minimum height, we can see the changes. By going over here and to history, we can go backwards like so. Then, just to change this image, we are going to go over here to style, and we can see the background image over here. So by clicking on it, we can change it. Like so. If we want to edit with AI, if we want to create the image with AI, we can simply click over here. And then we can use those options to edit the image that we have, or click over here to generate with a prompt. And use a prompt over here. Then we have some options for the image over here, like the image resolution, the position, and the display size, like so. We of course have some effects, some scrolling effects and some mouse effects. We can simply click on this toggle to activate it. And then by clicking on this icon, we have the options for the effect, opposite or direct for the direction, and the speed, like so. Let's click once again to disable the effect. Okay, and then let's go over here. We have some text over here. By simply clicking on it, we can see what we have. This is a heading widget, same as this one. This one is a text editor widget, and this one is a button widget. So let's go back to a heading widget. Over here we have the text. We can edit the text with AI over here. We can add a new URL over here. We can click on this wheel in order to make the URL to open in a new window. And of course we can use dynamic text from over here. And the HTML tag is over here. By going to style, we have settings for the headings, like the alignment, the typography. With global fonts, I recommend you first setting your global fonts and global colors so you maintain consistency across your entire website. So over here we have the global fonts or custom typography, like the font family, the size, the weight, if you want to transform it, the style if you want it to be italic, decoration, the line height, letter spacing, and word spacing. By clicking over here on this icon, we can go back to default, like so. We have text stroke from over here, with the size from over here, and the color from over here. Those will be the global colors, and over here will be a custom color. Once again, we can click over here to go back to default. Text shadow, we can choose the color from over here, and the opacity from over here, the blur, horizontal distance, and vertical distance. Let's click once again over here to go back to default. And over here we have the color. Global colors over here or custom one from over here. This is for the normal state, and for the hover state, we can choose a different color for the link and the transition duration. Of course, we also have some advanced settings over here if you want to play with them. By moving on, this is a text editor widget, as we can see over here. We can edit the text over here. In case we want to edit it like an HTML, we can click over here to text, so we can do that. Okay, we can select columns from over here if we want to, and the column gap from over here. And we can also edit it with AI from over here. By going to Style, we can choose the alignment from over here, typography, global fonts, or custom typography, text shadow again, paragraph spacing, and then the colors for the normal state and for the hover state. The text color from over here, like so, and the link color from over here. And for the hover, we can change a different color for the link color. And by going to advanced, we can see that we have a space over here. This is from padding, set to percentage, 20% to the right. That's why we can see this space over here. By moving on, we have a button over here. As we can see over here, it's a button widget. We can change the text from over here, the link from over here. By clicking on this wheel over here, we can set the button to open in a new link, or we can use the dynamic tags. For example, this button will take us to the Contact Us page. We can also do that with the dynamic tags by clicking over here, internal URL, clicking on this icon over here, type content, and then over here we are going to search for the Contact Us page, like so. And now when someone will click on this button, they are going to be taken to the Contact Us page. By going to Style, we have the button position, like so. If we are going to the stretch, we are going to have the alignment, like so. I forgot to show you where you can change the icon, and that's over here. You can select to not have an icon, to upload an icon, or to choose one from icon library, like so. And the position before the text or after the text. And the icon spacing, we are not going to see this change right now because the alignment is set to space between. The typography, we can change it from over here, with the global fonts from over here, or custom typography from over here. And then we have the colors over here, the text color, global colors, custom colors, the background, solid color, like so, or gradient, like so, with the location for the first color, for the second color, the type, angle. Then we have box shadow with the color from over here, opacity from over here, horizontal distance, vertical distance, blur, and spread. Let's click over here to go back to default. By going to hover, we can change the text color, the background type. Let's go to gradient, so it will make sense for us because we set a gradient for the normal state, so we have to set a gradient for the hover state as well, so it will work. Once again, the colors over here, the location for each color, type, angle, and so on. By moving on, we have border type over here, border width, and border color, like so. And of course, border radius from over here. We can click on this icon to unlink the values, so we can edit each value individually. Like so, for example. And padding over here. Of course, we also have advanced settings. And for the hero section, for the above default section, we also have this icon over here. As we can see over here, it's an icon widget. We can edit the icon by clicking over here. We can add a different icon from the icon library. Like so. We can change the view from over here. Like so. And of course, we can link it. As we can see over here, it's linked to go to the next section. So it has the hashtag symbol and set to next. By clicking on this other container, as we can see over here, and going to advanced, we can see the CSS ID set to next. That's how this functionality works. So now, when someone will click on this icon, they are going to be taken to the next section. Let's click again on the icon. By going to Style, we can change the alignment, the color for the normal state and for the hover state, like so. We can see that we have a hover animation over here. We can change it like so if we want something else. The size from over here, and we can rotate like so. And of course, once again, we have the advanced settings. So by moving on to the next section, we once again have a heading widget, another heading widget, and another text editor widget. If we want to change this image, once again, this is a background image. So we have to click over here to edit the container. A different way will be to use the structure and click over here to edit the container. By clicking on this arrow, we can see that this container is empty, and this way we know that the image is set as a background for the container. So if I'm going to Style, I can see the image over here. One more thing that I want to show you is by clicking over here to edit the entire container. So this one, intro, that has this container, the one that has two headings and a text editor, and the other container that has an image, so the main one. And by going over here to layout and over here to align items, we can see that it's set to stretch. If it's not set to stretch, let's set it to center. We can see that the image does not occupy the entire space that is available. So that's why we are setting it to stretch. And this space that we can see over here, because we also see that this container is occupying only this space, it's because of this, because of the minimum height set to view height to 88%. If I'm not setting this to anything, then the height of the main container will be as big as the container that has the elements on it. We can see that we have a distance over here at the bottom, and that is because it's not from over here from the main container, as we can see over here from advanced, that it only has a padding set the percentage to the left over here to 8. But if I'm going to this container that has those elements, I can see to the advanced that it has a margin set to pixel to 50 to the bottom. If I'm deleting this one, we can see that this main container is ending exactly to this other one. So let's go over here to history and go backwards. Like so. Okay. So by moving on, we once again have a background image over here, a heading widget, text editor, an icon over here. And what we can see over here is that this icon is also taking us to the next section. But this is not going to be possible because the CSS ID to next is actually for this section. So it's going to take us to this section. In order to take us to the next one, which will be this one, we have to change this. So let's change to next one, and then by going to the next section, which will be this one, and to advance to CSS ID, I'm going to write over here next one. And now when someone will click on this icon over here, they're going to be taken to the next section. Then by moving on to this section, as we can see over here to this container, by clicking on this arrow, we can see that it has a heading widget and a text editor widget. By moving on, we can see that the next container has multiple containers, this one, another one, and another one. and each of these containers has an icon box. So for the icon box, we have an icon over here. In order to edit it, we simply have to click on it and then we can edit the icon like so. We can change the text from over here, edit with AI if we want to, and the description from over here. Of course, we can also add a URL over here. We can click on this wheel to have the URL open in a new window, and we can also use dynamic tags. And the title HTML tag is from over here. By going to style, we have the settings for the box, for the icon, and for the content. For the box, we can select the icon position, the alignment of the entire element, like so, the icon spacing, like so, and the content spacing, like so. By going to icon, we have settings for the primary color, like so, size, and rotate. For the hover, we can change the color, like so. We can have a hover animation, like so. Okay. Then for the content, we have for the title, color from over here, global colors or custom one. Typography, global fonts or custom ones. Text stroke if you want to, and text shadow if you want to. Then for the description, we have the color over here, the typography over here, and the text shadow. If we want the settings that we have just made for this icon to be the same for those other ones as well, we simply have to right click, copy, right click to the next icon box, and paste style. Same over here and over here. And now we have ensured that we are consistent across all the icon boxes that we have on this page, on this section over here. One more thing that we see at this section is this line between those elements. So first, let's click on this container, go to style, to border, and check if we see the border over here. It's not at this container. By moving on to the next container, to style, to border, we can see that the border is over here, set to the left. So we can change the color from over here, like so. By moving to the next container, to the style, border, we can see the border over here. So let's change the color. And the same for the other container, style, border, and we can see it over here. What else can we see at this section? By clicking over here to the main section and going to advanced, we can see that we have a padding set to percentage 8 to the right over here and 8 to the left over here. And we also see that we have a margin set to percentage to 7 to the top. That will be between this container and the container above it. So this space over here. By moving on, we have another container with the button. We can see that we have a huge space over here between the button and the start of the container. By going to advanced, we can see that it's from over here, margin set to pixel to 66 to the top. So if I'm deleting this one, we can no longer see that space over there. By moving on, we have a heading widget and the text editor widget. And then by moving on to the next container, we once again have the layout settings over here, style settings and the advanced settings. We can see once again that we have a margin set to percentage to 5 to the top. That's the distance between this container and the previous one. Let's take a look at this container. It has two other containers. This one, we can see that it has 3 heading widgets. Let's click for a second over here on this arrow. It's going to expand all the containers, and by clicking again, it's going to contract them. So now by clicking on this container, we can see it better like so. So it has 3 headings, but we can also see that it has a lot of space around those headings. So let's see how that was set. By going to advanced, we can see that it's from over here, from padding to pixels. It's set to top, bottom, right and left. So that's why it has this space over here. By going to layout, we can also see over here that the content width is set to full width and the width is set to 50%. Okay, what else do we see over here? We see that it has a background color. That's from over here, from the style background, and the background color is from over here. So we can change it like so. And we can also see that it has this border over here. That is from over here, from border, from box shadow. The color is from over here. Horizontal distance, vertical distance, and that's it, because it doesn't have any blur and it doesn't have any spread. Then for the next container, we can see that we have a testimonial carousel. We have the slides over here. By clicking on a slide, we can edit the information, the text from over here. We can add an image if we want to, the name and the title if we want to. Same for each slide. Like so. If we want to duplicate a slide, we can simply click on this icon like so. And now we can see that this one is identical with this one. If we want to delete an item, we can simply click over here on this X. And if we want to add one, we can simply click over here to add item. And we will add the content over here, image, name, and title. Let's delete this one. Then we have the skin, default or bubble. Layout. Like so. The alignment. How many slides per view. Like so. And how many slides to scroll. Of course, we also have the width. For the additional options, we can have arrows if we want to. You can see them like so. For the paginations, we can choose different ones from over here. Transition duration, if you want to autoplay, if you want to infinite loop, if you want to pause on hover, pause on interaction, and so on. So by going to style, we have the space between the slides from over here. We are not going to see this change because we set to only one slide per view. The background color from over here. The border width from over here. Border radius and border color. And padding from over here. By going to content, we have the gap between the content and image and title, the text color from over here, typography from over here, text strokes, text shadow if you want to. Then for the name, we have color from over here, typography from over here, and for the title, the same settings. For the image, we have the size setting, the gap between the image and the title, border if you want to, border color, border width, and border radius. And for navigation, navigation will be the arrows and the dots. We have for the arrows, size, color, and then pagination, it's space between dots. You can see it over here. The size of the dots, the color of the dots, and the color for the active dot, as we can see over here. And of course, advanced settings if you want to. Okay, by moving on to the next section, we once again have a heading widget, a text editor, and a button widget. So this is basically what we have received for our homepage. So let's go over here to history. And I'm going over here. So everything will look nice again. I click on this arrow in order to preview the page. So once again, we have received a header over here with logo, navigation menu, and the call to action. An excellent above the fold section with a great image that we can change to match our business. A heading that will be our value proposition. A short description that will explain the users what our website is all about, and of course a call to action that will tell users what we want them to do. By scrolling to our homepage, We have more information over here. Then we have the features over here. Social proof and trust signals over here. And the great footer over here. Let's click again on this arrow. Okay, and once again, when you want to edit anything, you can either click it from over here in the structure, and then you have the layout settings. You can simply play with each and every setting from over here in order to see what you can achieve. The style settings, this is basically to customize how it will look, and the advanced settings over here. Okay, one more thing. In case you want to duplicate something, let's say that you want to duplicate this heading over here, you can simply right click on it, copy, and wherever you may want to duplicate it, let's say over here under this one, right click and paste. Okay, you can also right click and delete, like so. If you want to add a new section, you can see those options at the bottom of the page, but let's say that you want to add a new section over here between those two, you can simply click on this plus. Then you have the option to add one from scratch, one from media library, and one with AI. So let's click over here to media library. You can see that you have different blocks over here. You can also add an entire page if you want to. By going back to blocks, we can see over here that we have a filter that we can select a different section from over here. Let's say that we want a stat section. Let's say that we like this one. We can simply click on insert. And now, in order to make sure that it works for our website that is customized with our global fonts and global colors, we simply have to click on it. So I can change the background. I'm going to go to style, and over here to colors, I'm going to choose a global color so I know that it works for my website. Because this homepage is mainly white, I'm going to stay with the same white as well, like so. By going to the heading, I'm going to click on it, to style, to typography, I'm going to choose maybe secondary. I'm going to stay to primary, and for the color, primary. And over here, we can see that this is a counter widget. So we have a starting number and an ending number. We can have a prefix if we want to, like so. We can have a suffix if we want to, maybe like so. An animation duration, and the title is over here, Happy Clients. We can see it over here. By going to style, we can set the title position, like so. The title horizontal alignment, this is a very subtle change, but you can see it over here if you're paying close attention, like so. The title gap, number position, you are not really seeing that one, and the number gap. Okay, then for the number, we have the text color from over here, typography. For the title, text color and typography, like so. And once again, if we want all of those to be the same, we are going to right click, copy, right click, paste style. What else do we see over here? We can see that those elements are at the edges of the main container. So by clicking to this container, we can see how this is set up. By looking over here, direction is to row horizontal. To justify content, we have space between. That's why we have this space over here. And for the align items, we can see that it's set to stretch. So let's say that you want to add a new section with AI. You can simply click over here to add with AI. You would have to describe what you want to create over here and click on generate. And then we have received 3 sections over here, 3 options. So we can simply click on them in order to see what we have received. If we like one of them, for example, I really like this one, I'm going to click over here to use layout. And now if I want to edit the elements from over here, I can simply click on them. Once again, I can edit the content over here, the style over here, and the advanced over here. If you want to delete a section, you can simply click on this X. And if you want to duplicate a section, by staying on this section, right click and duplicate. And we can see the section like so. If we want to make sure that everything looks good on tablet and on mobile, we have to go over here, click on tablet view, and we can see it like so, and mobile view from over here. If you want to edit something for the tablet view or for the mobile view, we simply have to stay on that setting. And let's say we don't like how this image is looking, so let's click on this container. We are going to change the position to top center. We are going to go to layout, to minimum height, change the minimum height like so. Over here, I don't like that this one is very close to the edge, so I'm going to click on this container. And over here to padding, I'm going to choose, I can see that I'm set to percentage, so I'm going to choose 6, like so. And now by clicking on this heading to advance, I'm going to click over here to unlink the values. And I'm going to set only 10, maybe 30, because it's set to pixel, not to percentage. Over here, we can see that this doesn't look very good. So once again, I'm clicking on this container, and by layout, I'm going over here to gaps, and I'm going to set 100. Everything looks fine now. By going to mobile, everything looks good on mobile. And this is how you can make sure that everything will look good on other devices as well. Okay, so let's say that you don't like the homepage that you have received, that you want to change it completely. Let's delete all the sections, like so. And now by going over here to Media Library, to Pages, we can select a different homepage. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to click on Insert. I'm going to click Apply. And we can see the design over here. Okay, something is not right because we see a black background and we do not want that. So let's go over here to Page Settings, to Style, and yes, the color is from over here, from Body Style, Color. So let's change this one to white element background, and there we go. And let's see what else we have over here that we have not taken a look at. So we can see that we have some animations. You can see this image that is animated. So let's click over here on this container. So let's go over here to Style, and yes, the image is over here. So let's click on it and change it like so. And by scrolling, we can see the scrolling effects over here set to on, and we have a scale effect. And we can see that the effect applies to desktop, tablet, and mobile. And by clicking over here, we can see that it has a scale up direction, a speed of 4, and the viewport set to this part of the slider. So that's how we have that effect. This container also had an effect that came like so. So let's click on this container to advance, motion effects, and we can see that it has an entrance animation, slide in right. That's why it came like so. We can also see that if we are going like so, we also have another effect. So let's take a look. By going to Style, to Border, we can see that it has a box shadow set to normal. And for the hover, I'm assuming it's a different one. So let's take a look. We have the blur set to 10. For the normal state, we have different settings. So that's how we have achieved that effect. Okay. So in order to see each and every effect, how it's made, we can simply click on that element. For example, this one slides up. By going to Style, to Hover, we have hover animation and it's float. So that's why we have that effect. So that's basically it. It's that simple to customize your homepage. Whenever you're happy with your changes, you can simply click over here to publish. In order to preview your changes, you can also click over here. And you're going to preview your changes like so. Okay, and if you want to quickly customize anything from your homepage, you can go to this resource, to AISQbusiness.com/learning/customize. And by scrolling just a little bit, you can click over here to customize the homepage. And then you're going to have this resource where if you want to customize, let's say that you want to customize this heading, you can simply click on this black dot and you're going to watch a short video that is going to tell you how to customize that specific heading. that specific element. So this way it's very simple to know how to customize the footer, for example, how to customize this container, for example. So you can use this resource in order to customize each element very, very quickly. And in case you have not yet set the global fonts and the global typography, you can simply go to AISQbusiness.com/learning and over here to start editing your site. And by scrolling just a little bit, you can watch this video in order to know how to set up the global fonts and the global colors. So this was basically it. Thank you for tuning in. Stay creative, stay inspired, and keep optimizing your online presence. Until next time.